Genshin Impact power scaling has been going pretty wild since Natlan's release, in no small part because we got our first on-screen fight between two god-level characters in Mavuika and Capitano, as well as the whole debate surrounding that. It's been a minute since I've dipped my toes into some power scaling discussion on this channel, so I thought it'd be a good time to talk about who is the most powerful, playable character in Genshin Impact. To do that, let's first set some rules. Firstly, there are several characters whose strength level fluctuates at different points in time, so I will simply be using the version of them that is playable. Secondly, I will only be judging the characters based on their strength level in the lore and story of the game. No gameplay metas involved. Hu Tao might be a better DPS than Tartaglia, but if they ever fought within the story, Child would win 10 times out of 10. And finally, at the time of me writing this, we are only halfway through 5.2, so Mavuika hasn't come out yet, meaning that she won't be counted for this video. Trust me, it really doesn't change the outcome either way. With all that being said, let's begin. And what better place to start than with the MC of the game themselves, the Traveler. The Traveler possesses a special body that allows them to wield all of the different elements as long as they pray to each element's statue of the 7. With each element they unlock, they regain more of their original power, thus the Traveler of one region is stronger than the Traveler of the previous region. Over their journey they've battled and defeated fatui harbingers, dragons, and gods, and have even impressed said gods with their skills in combat. However, it is important to remember that whenever faced with a particularly powerful enemy, the Traveler has almost always needed some heavy assistance to defeat them. Against Raiden they only won after being powered up by the wills and ambitions of the people of Inazuma. Against God Scaramouche they got defeated 168 times before getting pumped with all the knowledge from their failed attempts, as well as having everyone in Sumeru conjure up a plan for them. And against the all-devouring Narwhal, Neuvillette had shared a bit of his power with them and was protecting them while inside the belly of the beast. The one time that they fought a near god-level opponent with no outside help was against Arlecchino, who easily defeated them despite her holding back for most of the battle. So then, what about Arlecchino herself? Well, Arle is certainly powerful, being able to use flames from a young age due to her Conrian curse, and even defeating the previous knave at just 16 years old. As mentioned before, she easily beat the Hydro Traveler, which is essentially the current version of the Traveler since no Pyro yet, and had them literally shaking in their boots when she pulled out her domain expansion. But Arlecchino isn't our character either, and that's because of her being rank 4 of the Fatui Harbingers. Now, since the Harbingers are ranked by strength, this would put her above characters like Child, Signora, and pre-godhood Scaramouche, but it would also make her weaker than the top 3, Colombina, Dottore, and Capitano. This is important because while none of the top 3 are playable characters, they are the only members of the Harbingers with power that rivals the gods, which by extension would make Arlecchino a fair bit weaker than the gods. So then, are any of the gods or archons our candidates? After all, they are supposed to be the most powerful beings in their respective nations. Well, let's have a look. Venti and Nahida straight up state that they are very weak relative to other archons, so they are ruled out. Nahida specifically is a bit interesting since she has control over Irminsul, which even Raiden thinks makes her very powerful. But Irminsul isn't really something she can control or use in a direct fight, but rather something that requires preparation and setup. Moving up the Archon ladder, we have Zhongli, who in the past had sealed and defeated countless other gods with his mountain-sized spears, and would have even been able to take down Osial had the rest of the Leeway cast, including all of the Adepti, the Xixing, and the Geo Traveler, failed to stop him. Also, while he did lose his Gnosis and along with it a substantial amount of power, according to his voice lines he has been slowly regaining that former strength. Finally, we have Raiden, who is just loaded with feats. During the Archon Wars, he killed the snake god Orobashi with a single slash, splitting all of Yashiori Island in the process. Her power was also talked about in the same vein as Morax, and even though it was originally Makoto who was the Electro Archon and had access to the Gnosis, A acted as her shadow warrior and was in charge of all the fighting. During the Inazuma Archon quests, she completely dominates the Traveler in their first encounter, and even after they go through Yae Miko's anti-Raiden Shogun training, they still don't stand a chance of actually defeating A. So, is that it? Is Raiden our best contender for strongest playable character? Well, there is one more. One character that stands above all the rest. Above the Traveler, above the Harbingers, above even the gods themselves. I am of course talking about the Chief Justice, Iudex of Fontaine, the Hydro Dragon Sovereign himself, Monsieur Neuvillette. Neuvillette is the reincarnation of the Hydro Sovereign, with the Dragon Sovereigns being the most powerful elemental forces in existence, strong enough to battle against the Primordial One and his 4 Sages for 40 years. However, after the war with the Second Who Came, the Primordial One took away a large portion of their power, which he then used as the basis for the elemental authority of the Archons. This is why Neuvillette couldn't just solo the Fontaine crisis by himself in the Archon quest. That being said, even in this nerfed state he is still a beast, being able to knock out Tartaglia with a single attack and even briefly squaring off and hurting the all-devouring Narwhal. But shit gets real once he actually regains his authority and becomes a fully fledged Dragon Sovereign, allowing him to prevent the Fontaine Prophecy and defeat the all-devouring Narwhal alongside the Traveler. It's important to note that while Neuvillette said he needed the Traveler as an executioner, he actually granted him part of the Hydro Dragon's power during the fight and even defended him while inside of the whale. With his authority, he gained absolute control over the Hydro element and according to his final Ascension voice line, now possesses the power to judge the rest of the gods. His character story 5 goes even further and states that he possesses power that rivals the entire human realm. Now, without delving too deep into the lore, the human realm is the world that the Primordial One created to replace the old world of the Sovereigns, aka the Light Realm. Humans are obviously part of the human realm, but so are the gods most likely, which would put Neuvillette's power on par with all 11 of the Fatui Harbingers, all of the Archons, and every Allodzin alive in Teyvat. This is consistent with the fact that he possesses the previous Sovereign's power, as like I said before, the Sovereigns fought the Sages and the Heavenly Principles for 40 years, albeit they lost in the end, with the Sages and the Heavenly Principles being viewed as higher powers even by the Archons. Finally, elemental dragons like the Volin are said to possess power that rivals the gods of old, with the Sovereigns being the most powerful elemental dragons, and elemental beings in general, thus by extension being stronger than the gods. With all that said, I think Neuvillette has by far the best case for being the strongest playable character, and the release of Mavuika or even the Captain are likely not going to change that. But what do you guys think? Do you agree or do you think I downplayed someone? Whatever it is, tell me in the comments below, and just remember to stay civil to one another. Other than that, remember to do the usual, like, subscribe, drink water, hug your mother, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.